What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily Podcast, powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. It's Tuesday. Usually have Amon Richards. He's having some travel issues. We'll get him back hopefully sometime later this week. But big week, man. Obviously, this is the week. Pitt, like Pete said, history is close. Trying to get to 10 wins, man. First time in a long time. Then shoot our shot with the playoff committee. You'll see today what they have in store. I'm sure it'll be a muck. And you'll see some very bad explanations about everything from the committee, but we'll see if it goes in our favor. Obviously, we'll keep fighting the good fight here, and most importantly, watching to see if the Canes can get it done where it matters, which is on the football field. So, folks, we'll get it done for you. That's Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Pete, hop in from Houston. How you doing?
D, good morning. Doing great, man. Just excited here for the opportunity ahead that, obviously we don't have any control over, but just as I've been saying, man, this is, I think, a lot more momentous than people really realize. No, I mean, look, you laugh, and some people in the comments talk about the standard of the program, but like, it's been crazy to me as someone who, obviously, I born in 1994. I have a better recollection, I think, of the 01-02 season than people my age would, just because I'm a freakazoid and I've gone back and I was at those games, but like I've also gone back and done a lot of the research and stuff like that. But at the same time, as someone who wasn't around in the 80s, right, for that run, it's really crazy to look back at the lack of sustained success that this program has had. Sustained. You had the 10-year run from 83 to the early 90s there. You have the issues in the 90s. Obviously, you get back to that run for what, a 4 or 5 year stretch in the early 2000s. But D, outside of the 10-year run there from early 80s to the 90s, outside of that 4 or 5 year stretch in the early 2000s, now, fantastic stretches, those, right? The pinnacles of all pinnacles. But we, as a program, have lacked a coach and a structure and a year-to-year consistency that, as fans, we can say, okay, how can we build upon this? It's always, how can we just get back to where we were? There was nothing to build upon. There was nothing to build upon. You're at a point now, you win this game Saturday, where it's a unique thing that this program hasn't had in such a long time. And I know that people can joke about it, all that, but to me, this is special, man. This is a really, as someone who hasn't seen any sort of sustained success, winning 10 games a year is a big deal. It's a big deal, man. And I'm excited to see where they take it from here. But yeah, I think people need to continue to put this thing in perspective. Go back and look at Miami year-to-year records, the last 40 years. Even go back before the 80s. Go back after the early 2000s. It's not a pretty situation. It's not a pretty scene. So,
yeah, and honestly, the truth is, I really don't disagree with you. I'm just more in a wait and see because it's a huge test.
We haven't won it. I get it. I get it. Yeah. I think that people are still going to be very down on what happened in the season if Miami wins. I say people, meaning a lot of people within the fan base. So, listen, just take a step back, everybody. Let's go win this game. But it's an interesting study. It's a very, very unique, interesting study when you look back on it. I mean, that's just the facts of it. It's not like Rock says I've got to be trolling. This is legitimate. I've been saying this since after the SMU game. You can't say that it's a troll if it's something that I've been really believing and voicing on here for a month plus. Like, the facts back it up too.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's gonna have to be done on Saturday. If Miami's able to go into Pitt, cold weather game, and I think really a lot of this playoff stuff is people not believing that Miami's going to win on Saturday. And I don't blame them. Miami's been losing this game for 20 years. So I expect people to feel that way. I kind of have it in the back of my mind that deep nervousness about Miami getting it done against a team that's a live team in Pitt, in the cold, on the road, with everything on the line. So, I think that is definitely my main concern, and I think it's in the back of a lot of people's minds. If you're able to get there, then I think people might have more of the perspective that you're bringing Pete, which is, all right, let's look back. Whatever happens with the committee, we can't control that. ACC, people talk about the ACC. I'm starting to think we should get rid of conference championships, just because there's so many stupid tiebreakers that, like, what is it really about? Like, you say, yeah, you shouldn't have lost those 2 games. That's absolutely correct. But it's like, you have Virginia losing NC State. It's not even a conference game. You got all these weird tiebreakers that no one understands. Like, what are we even doing? Like, who does this benefit? So, like, I'm beginning to question the conference part of it, just because it's not really based. You can say it's based on wins and losses, but it's really not. It's based on a bunch of weird tie-breaking rules that no one understands. These teams are all.
I mean, look, I'm cool with conference champions. I think it just, we talk about, we're not trying to lose the integrity of what this is, right? That's why, you and Mike always talk about the head-to-head with Notre Dame and say how it should, matter more than it is right now and stuff like that. I don't mind the conference championships, D, but the problem is, like, if Miami's not even, you're not giving these teams chances to play each other. Like, so it's not really a true conference champion to me.
Yeah, but I agree. Look, I think if Miami beats Pitt, everybody knows Miami's the best team in the ACC. We don't have to lie about it. Now, Pitt, like I said,
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, D, because if Georgia Tech goes and gives Georgia a run here and they win out, then I don't think you can argue that Georgia Tech's not the better team. Like, Georgia Tech with one loss, beating Georgia, running through their schedule. I mean, if
they had 2 losses. They got smoked by NC State, and then they got smoked by Pitt.
Oh yes, yeah, but still, D. Yeah, that's right. I'm forgetting about the one last week, but still. ACC champ with winning. Let's just say they hypothetically win out here, then I don't know. I still think you got to give them credit for winning the ACC and beating a Georgia if they do.
Yeah, I think I would say more about Georgia, quite frankly, because we saw Georgia Tech's defense. Man, they suck. It's like you saw NC State against Georgia Tech. If you want to feel good about CJ Bailey as a potential transfer candidate, watch his game against Georgia Tech. If you want to feel bad about him, watch his game against Miami. And I think the big difference in those 2 games isn't CJ Bailey. It's probably the defense on the other side. But bottom line is, we got to take care of business here against Pitt. We'll talk about the Pitt game real quick. Tell people why you are in Houston, kind of the cause that's going on out there, and some of the things you're working on.
Yeah, so I'm out here now. My guy Titus Howard is doing a turkey drive today. So if you're in the Houston area by any chance, I know we got some Houston people who listen to the show, but it's going to be from 4 to 6 today at the Houston Texans YMCA. So appreciate them for partnering with Titus here and getting that set up. But yeah, 500 turkeys, man. So turkey drive. If you're again in the Houston area, drive up, grab your turkey, and yeah, man, great cause. Titus is guy who really cares about the community here in Houston and back home in Alabama. So excited to be out here for this cause. Great event. And if you're out in the Houston area, let me know.
Yeah, and look, bottom line with this game, as we get into it, by the way, that is a great cause. But bottom line with this particular ball game is Miami has to not only stop the run from Pitt, Pitt has a bad running game. But they completely tore up Georgia Tech with 200 plus yards from their freshman tailback. Yeah, you got to stop the run always. But bottom line is you got to get their quarterback to the ground, and you, with your quarterback Carson Beck, needs to be able to throw the ball down the field. And I was doing my usual statistical roundup, and there's some interesting stuff, man, that surprised me. One of these is, Miami right now is up to 8.6 yards per attempt in the passing game on average, which is high. That's like 16th in the country. That's a high yards per attempt.
Don't let bagging up hear that, man.
Yeah, the problem is the rushing offense is just not explosive. Yeah. I mean, that's the big issue, is that really you look at, obviously, Jordan Lyle was a disappointment this year so far. You hope he can turn around. I'm a believer in Jordan Lyle. But really, aside from Mark Fletcher running for 5+ yards a carry, I think actually he dropped. So he's at 5 flat yards a carry. And then this little brief window of Gerard Pringle. We just haven't been very productive running the football. And we've lacked the explosive runs from everybody as far as like the really big runs. So it's amazing how much the rushing offense is hurting this team. I think you'll see with Pitt, they're one of the best rushing defenses in the country. They fly downhill. We've talked about it. That is their MO. They're going to blitz like crazy to get after Carson Beck, but they're going to do that by really playing the run first and being aggressive towards it. You have to hit him for explosive plays in the passing game. And I guess what I'm surprised by is, Miami, when you really boil down the stats, it doesn't feel this way, but when you really boil down the stats, Miami's passing game is better than I thought it was. When you look at, again, average yards per attempt, you look at I'll pull it up right here so people can see it. This is going to be the team rankings for quarterback rating. Julian Sane, of course, playing with an all-star team. Fernando Mendoza right behind him, best player in the country at that position. Then Diego Pavia. These are the Heisman guys here. Mestamaker, who we've talked about a lot, very talented player, favorable offense. CJ Carr, we know him. Dante Moore, we know him. Damon Williams, guy a lot of people like. If Washington, for whatever reason, Jed Fish leaves or something and that becomes available, he'd be a guy that a lot of Canes fans would be interested in. And then right there, Carson Beck, under 63 quarterback rating. So, I think the narrative on the passing game has changed over the last few weeks, but the big test is going to be Pitt, because Pitt is, like I've been saying, it's not rocket science. Narduzzi's been here for a long, long time. We know how he operates. He is going to stop the run first and foremost, like most defensive coordinators do, but probably maniacally so when it comes to Pitt. They are extreme in this way. Number 7 in the nation in yards per attempt against when it comes to the running game. Passing game, still a good pass defense for Pitt. They can get after the quarterback, but a lot more vulnerable. 50th in yards per attempt. Defense, their thing in the passing game is taking the ball away, and that's what you have to avoid. If you can avoid the interceptions, you could block up the blitz, which I think you're going to be able to do that with Mark Fletcher in this offensive line. Now take advantage downfield.
Yeah, I think the efficiency's been good. It's been good to see them having fun out there. As Jordan said here, Dawson, seems to be in his bag, even though, look, I think it's a variety of different things. They're hitting on plays that they weren't hitting on previously. They're not setting themselves back behind the chains as much as they were previously doing. So a lot of the stuff they probably wanted to run off of their lack of success on some of the stuff previously, I think they're able to go out there and show. A lot of the stuff we're doing with Malachi Toney now, D, it's because you're not in 2nd and 20 consistently, 1st and 15. You can get a little bit more creative when you don't have 5 pre-snap penalties per game.
No doubt about it. That makes it a lot easier. It kind of mitigates against some of the problems you've had in your running game as well. So yeah, penalties are huge. Really, look at Louisville, look at SMU. Penalties, interceptions. Can you avoid those? And then like you said, the Malachi Toney program packages have been very important, and I think they're going to continue to be so here. Point from Bagging Up says, we're 8th in the ACC in pass plays over 60 yards. Yeah, like the huge play. Yeah, but I mean, how many pass plays are there over 60 yards, right? I mean, it's not like
is that the best metric? I don't know.
Yeah, so here's yards per pass attempt. Now, this stat, you have to understand how to look at it, because obviously sometimes you see like Navy's number 1, Air Force, like teams that don't pass that much. FSU is another one. The typically will be South Florida. Like they'll be high in this one because when they run, and then when they do pass, it's usually a super explosive big play. But I mean, look at the other teams: North Texas, which we talked about, Notre Dame, Vanderbilt with Pavia, USC with Jaden Mayava. You got Mendoza, Tennessee, Texas A&M. These are the teams you'd expect to be up here: Ohio State, Mississippi, Washington, and then right there, Miami, 8.6 yards per attempt, and we pass it a lot. Now, I think one of the reasons we're efficient passing the ball is because Beck's completion percentage is incredibly high. I think it's the highest in Miami history, if it holds by a lot. I don't believe Miami's ever had a quarterback pass over 70%. Cam Ward obviously was the best like I said, best quarterback I've ever seen in Miami still is, but he was 67%, much more of a downfield component to what he was doing. So take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I mean, Carson Beck right now, you look at
Man, why do you have to take it with a grain of salt? The numbers
well, I
are
just
what
mean
they
like,
are,
I don't
dude.
mean to say, because Ward would pass better than last year than Beck did this year. I don't want to create a narrative that's not something I believe.
Hey,
Carson,
season's not over, man.
season's
Season's
not
not over
over.
yet.
Season's not over. I agree. But I mean, this guy right now, 74.3% completion percentage. I mean, that is absolutely insane. And that also, so that's going to have a situation that's going to affect the efficiency of the passing offense. Because even if you don't have 60 plus yard passes, when you're not getting those zeros, meaning a pass that's incomplete, that efficiency number goes up. So really, that's been the story of Miami's offense, that efficiency, 74% passing from Beck, which is, again, unheard of at Miami. Now, can you be explosive like you were against Florida State? Which I think that's, if you're looking at a game to model this performance after, that's the one, because that is a team that was maniacal about stopping our running game. They threw everything at it, and we made them pay with screens, which was CJ Daniels, made him pay with the deep ball to Malachi Tony. A little bit of trickery, but really just running by the defense there. Great pass by Beck. And then also,
do you still think that's the way to beat Miami right now, D, if you're the other side, or do you trust your run defense without having to load the box and say, well, they haven't been all that explosive in the run game?
Yeah, great question. I would say, Pete, this is what Pittsburgh does. Pittsburgh is what they are, right? Narduzzi's been there I was shocked. I'm going to pull this up because one of the questions I was going to ask Amon, and I'll ask him when we eventually do interview him this week, is, he killed Pitt in 2016, like completely destroyed him. Had one of the best games of might have been the best game of his entire career against Pitt. So there's obviously ways you can really hurt this Pittsburgh defense that is so aggressive. They kind of play the same way. Narduzzi's been there for 11 years. It's crazy. And this is really what they do. They will have their safeties flying down in their run fits very aggressively. They will blitz like crazy on third down or in passing downs, and they'll make you beat them outside. That's really just how they play. Sometimes that'll be effective. Sometimes it won't be effective. And you look at like Pitt's defense. It's not like Pitt's defense on the whole is the strength of their team. It's really their offense is putting up crazy amount of points right now. Pitt sits at 14th in the nation in points per game at 35.3. Miami's 23rd in the nation in points per game, 32.6. So Miami's a pretty good offense scoring wise. Pitt's is a good offense scoring wise. But then defensively, Pitt will give up points. Miami, of course, 8th in the country in scoring defense, 15.6, one of the best defenses in the country. Pitt, not as bad as what we've been playing. They're not as bad defensively as Virginia Tech, not as bad as NC State, not as bad as Stanford, Syracuse, not quite as good as SMU. Sounds crazy to say about SMU, but SMU is 19th in the nation in scoring defense. Louisville, they've fallen off a little bit lately, but where are they at right now? They've fallen a bit to the pack. They were higher when we played them. Now they're at 48th. Pitt is in terms of scoring defense is at 63rd in the nation, allowing 25.2 points per game. So it's an offensive team, but a defensive identity historically, and you got to make them pay for what they're trying to do. I don't think they're going to play us that much differently than they normally do. I think they're going to fly downhill, stop our running game, and then on third down, they're going to attack Beck like a maniac.
D, I have a question for you, and this is not a troll question because obviously
I like that lead in. I know it's going to be a good one.
Well, because this is a debate we've had over the past couple of weeks here, and I think if you listen to the show, you know where I stand on the side of this. But do you not think that it's a more likely scenario that Miami makes the playoffs via these ACC scenarios? Because like some of these ACC scenarios don't seem completely out of the realm of possibility to me. Whereas I still think you need so much to happen to get in as an at-large right now.
Your boy Rolovich at Cal, if he could, you've been talking about him.
How about that
years.
one? I'm telling you.
That's your guy. So if he can pull up that upset, that would make things a lot easier. I think the national one's going to be, my thing with the national one is I think a lot of people expect us to lose. And I think if we don't lose and we are 10-2 and that's laminated and they're looking at a laminated resume that says 10-2 Miami, I think the conversation will shift nationally. It's already in our favor, I think, but I think it'll get stronger once people know that I think a lot of people were like, man, I was hyping Miami up in September, and then they go and lose 2 out of 3 in the ACC. So like, I think there's a lot of like, hey, this is the same old Miami. They're going to choke at the end. I think if Miami gets past that, the whole conversation will change. But if your boy Rolovich beats SMU with Cal, a lot of scenarios open up, and then it becomes a lot more effective.
There's no way Manny wins that game against Wake, right? There's no way.
Yeah,
I'll speak it into existence now, as I normally do.
Wake's pretty good.
Yeah, Wake's. I like Dickert, their head coach. But that's not a spot. Am I flickering right now?
Yeah, you are. It looks like a raven there, Pete. You got a disco ball in there.
I don't know. There might be too much light in here. Let me.
I've never seen that before. You got a disco ball in the hotel room in Houston.
That's what they say. That's what happens sometimes, I guess, when I do the shows for my car, and I don't know if it's because there's too much light coming into the camera lens here. But we
got to put one of those warnings. Those are
seizure warnings.
There was a Teletubbies back in the day for kids, and like kids were getting seizures like across the world.
Yeah,
we had to put a little warning on there. So we got to get one of those. Question from Bagging Up, our boy, and he's been on this one the whole time, and he's been right about a lot of it. He says, "Is this an explosive offense in your mind? Compare Miami to what top 10 offenses. What do you see?" No, I don't think there's an explosive offense for Miami. I think it's a pretty good offense because of the efficiency of it in terms of like not a lot of incompletions, not a lot of sacks. In fact, like I would say this, we are elite at avoiding sacks. We are elite at avoiding incompletions. We are elite at avoiding tackles for loss. And we are good, top 20. I think we're top 20, top 25 at least, in avoiding turnovers. So add that all up, and that's going to make you a pretty good offense. I think where we're weak is exactly what you just laid out, which is we're not good at explosives. And if we were more explosive, yes, we're 25th in the nation in turnovers. So top 25. So elite at not getting sacked, top 5 in that category. Elite at not allowing tackles for loss, top 5 in that category. Elite in completion percentage, I believe we're also top 5 in that category. But yeah, when you go to like plays over 20, plays over 30, plays over 40, we drop considerably. That's the weakness of the team. If we had all the same efficiency that I just mentioned, and then we had more explosive plays, say we added Jeremiah Smith when he woke up on the wrong side of the bed and picked Ohio State, this would have been one of the best offenses in the country. It's that small of a margin. But yes, the weakness is going to be the explosive passing game. We'll see if we can get that going. Pete, I wanted to ask you, because you've been watching these other receivers. You've been a big Keelan Marion guy, another solid performance last week. If Pitt does what I think they're going to do, which is devote all their resources to, number one, stopping the run or blitzing when it's a passing down, and then trying to take away Malley, who's going to step up to make them pay for that?
I think ideally CJ Daniels is available for this game. This is obviously he played a few snaps last game, but I think this is the sort of game where his veteran play could really come into effect, right? I mean, it's we talk about the cold game. He's had a couple drops this year, but you expect him to be ready for this one in terms of just like the big game atmosphere, right? So I think we've forgotten about CJ Daniels a little bit, but this seems like a spot to me that he really steps up big in. And I said it on the post game show, man. I think we got to give JoJo credit for like end of the game, third down, his numbers called. He makes the play, obviously gets away with the face mask there, but you got to give him credit for at this juncture of the season sticking with it. And by the way, I think shows a big in terms of Carson Beck's confidence in him. Obviously, there's a play call and he's a primary option on that play, but Beck's trusting it and letting it fly. Same thing with Dalen Upshaw, who I think continues to get better and better here and shows you that he's a real foundational piece for the future. But no, to me, JoJo Trader, I'm not saying he's gonna be the guy this week, but I'm just let's shout him out and give him credit where it's due there.
Yeah, no doubt. it's going to be a chance for someone to be a star, right? Because this game is so huge for Miami. Like you said, I mean, you've been hyping it, and I really don't disagree with you. Beyond the playoff implications, who's going to be that star? There's a lot of options. You mentioned CJ Daniels. I think CJ Daniels, one thing that he does pretty well that he's maybe underrated in is he's pretty good at running screens for not being the fastest guy in the world. You saw that against Florida State. He took a screen to the house. And again, I keep kind of looking to that Florida State game for like a model of what we're trying to do here. So who can catch screens for us? We know one option, obviously, which is number 10. Is it going to be Marion? Is it going to be CJ Daniels? Could it be potentially a Dalen Upshaw? We saw what he did in the Syracuse game, kind of getting that game started on offense with the long catch and run. So could that be the option? It is to me the story of that game. Another story of that game really is, can we get our tight ends going? Bauman had a chance to really, really do something big in that game. Dropped the ball. I think he didn't drop the ball. It was dislodged. And I think he just maybe didn't see the other guy coming to knock the ball loose and just got surprised, didn't secure it as urgently as he probably should have. But Bauman's been working hard, and I'm excited to see if he can step up here. But when you look at, like, for example, pull up the box score for the Notre Dame game against Pitt, the star of that game for Notre Dame, aside from Jeremiah Love, is kind of the star of every game. Eli Raritan, the tight end, had 6 catches in that game and some big ones, number 9. So could a Miami's number 9 do something here? Pitt, they have really fast linebackers, really good linebackers. They're really more like safeties, number 3 and number 9, Lewis and Biles. But they do, because they're so aggressive, give you some opportunities to hit the tight end on play action. That's something that over the 11 years Narduzzi's been at Pitt has hurt them. Lofton's starting to heat up. Can he continue that ascension in this game where we really need him? Can Bauman get it done? That's a position to me, Pete, that I think is critical to Miami.
Yeah, Lofton has been a bit more involved here the last couple of weeks. It was nice to see him get on the board last week, and obviously they've made a concerted effort to get him the ball early in the game. They handed him the ball early in the last couple of weeks here. Not like game-breaking runs, but I think it still shows you that look, confidence has been off with him. So if you get him the rock early, maybe it kind of gets him over that hump, and you're going to need him here. You're going to need Bauman, similar sort of thing. Obviously, he last week that was a tough one, but Beck has thrown him the ball here the last couple of weeks a bit more.
No doubt. So look, Miami's going for the win on Saturday. This would be a huge win for the program for all the reasons Pete's been mentioning. And if you want a triple win, how about KashKick app, KashKick in the App Store? Over 4.5 plus average rating, 1.5 million plus downloads. You get all your games consolidated on the KashKick app, KashKick, right there in the App Store. All your games are consolidated, whether it's games you play, your kids play, your wife plays, whatever's on your phone, you got your games to play. As you're playing these games, you are earning money on the side. Go straight into your PayPal, all legit. Again, this is one of the biggest apps in the country. So as you're making money just for playing games, it's that simple. After you make the money, the American Cancer Society receives a donation from advertisers, same people paying you money, pay money to the American Cancer Society just for you playing games. So you win by playing a fun game. You win by getting some money in your pocket, and the American Cancer Society and really everybody wins as money goes to fight this terrible disease. So the triple win with Play It Forward campaign, KashKick app, KashKick. And if you want to watch the game on Saturday, probably no better place to do it than Duffy's Tavern. That is the home of the Hurricanes, right there in the edge of Coral Gables. I know Pete's been missing it over there in Texas, but I was there for the game on Saturday. Great event. Ran into a ton of Canes fans out there. They took care of us at Duffy's Tavern, watching Miami beat Virginia Tech by 3 scores. Would love to see a similar result here against Pitt. So head out to Duffy's Tavern, now accepting credit cards after 60-plus years. This is an establishment in South Florida, in Miami. It's not the chain. Duffy's Tavern. with the T, Duffy's Tavern. That's the one that's going to be the classic hurricane spot. Decades of hurricane greats walking through those doors. Be part of history as Miami maybe makes history on Saturday. Duffy's Tavern Sports Grill. All right, Pete. So, this is a big one. So what do you, I've been kind of going through things I'm watching in terms of matchups and strengths of Pitt, key players, all that. What are you watching on the field as we get ready for Saturday?
So we hear so much about the cold weather stuff, right? And I think at the end of the day, the cold weather stuff can be a factor. But if you have built this program a certain way in the trenches, O-line needs to handle business the way that we've, for the most part, seen them do all year. The run game, we can debate that all we want, but you've got to run the ball effectively. And then defensively, you can't. I feel like sometimes run defense can be contagious in a bad way. Like what we saw last week was not what we've seen this season. It's been a great unit against the run, but sometimes that sort of stuff can seep into the next week when it comes to the tackling and just the fact that it is going to be cold, right? I'm not so much focused on like specific players on Pitt. I'm focused on you can't let that seep into, because we talk about offensively a lot of times that the struggles have carried over from the end of one game to the next one and we have not seen that with the defense at all this year. I think the defense has been super consistent. Even we've seen them against Louisville, for example, kind of get hit early, rebound, stabilize, and handle business. Against SMU, we saw the opposite there at the end of the game. And you see it carry over. You've got to tackle. You've got to be fundamentally sound. You've got to be running to the football. All the stuff that Coach Heatherman talks about in terms of playing fast and physical and organized. You need to see that on the defense side of the ball. I have not been concerned with the defense at any point of the year. I just think that they've got to erase what happened last week from their memory.
Yeah, no doubt. This was a disappointing run defense performance against a team in Virginia Tech that runs the ball. You heard Heatherman talk about it. He said they tweaked something that they didn't think they'd tweak, meaning Virginia Tech. So they had to adjust to some schematic stuff, not enough tackling, not enough edge setting. He said they played hard, but need to do better little things. So he didn't seem that concerned. Pitt's not as good running as Virginia Tech, but Pitt can pass a lot better. So if Pitt is able to run, that's much more of a problem. You kind of expect Virginia Tech to run, knowing that you're going to stop their passing game, and you kind of live with some of it. If Pitt runs anywhere close to what Virginia Tech ran last week, Miami's going to be in big trouble. There's a very bad Pitt running game. Yeah, I think let me check the latest ranking after this, because they had a good performance against Georgia Tech, running for a ton of yards. Georgia Tech's not very good against the run, but Pitt's running offense was all over them. They're really not a very good rushing team, though, in general. So look at the stats here. 111th in the country in yards per rush. Pitt, 3.5. We're not doing great. I mean, we're in the 80s, but Pitt 111th, and then rushing yards per game. Pitt very, very poor as well. Much more of a passing-focused operation. Rushing yards per game, they're at 103rd. Coming off a very good game against Georgia Tech. So you got to stop Pitt's running game, knowing they're going to pass. Let's see here. Yeah,
good comment here by Kyle. He says 7 straight games helped the offense get in rhythm. Now, I think that is a factor that did probably throw things off in the middle of the year. Their D, and I think you could probably say defensively, it may work the opposite way, just because you haven't beat up on that side of the ball. You've lost some guys. David Blais been out. Keontae Scott's been out. Mesidor missed some time there, right? And we already know the defensive line depth isn't great in terms of guys who are consistent players there. So I think maybe defensively you probably felt it a little bit more. Would you agree with that in terms of playing 7 straight weeks?
100%. The injuries and everything else. But yeah, I think the 7 straight games, getting offense in rhythm, Beck just getting further removed from the injury, getting more reps with guys that he didn't pass to at all in the offseason. I think that all helped the offense get a little more in tune. Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Orange and Green Blood said gap integrity is going to be at a premium on defense against Pitt. Yeah, I mean, look, you got to stop this running game. Bagging Up says Pitt will have the most explosive and scary running back on the field, though, in the true Frosh. He's coming off a 201-yard game against Pittsburgh, so he's hot. That's Ja'Kirian Turner, Florida guy. He grew up not very far from Zechariah Poyser, up there by Ocala, Wildwood, Florida. He might have been in the same exact town as Zechariah Poyser. 5'9", 180 pounds. So he's a small guy, but coming off, look, his best game of the year, running for 200-plus yards against Georgia Tech. Got his average with a 5.4 yards per carry. Really, again, bolstered by that game. But look, at Stanford, he also ran very well. Now, if you look at the week in between there against Notre Dame, 5 carries, 15 yards, 3.0 yards a carry. I think for Miami, that's kind of where you want to be. I don't agree he's the most explosive back. I mean, I think Gerard Pringle's a lot faster than him. I mean, we're talking about this guy's an 11 flat runner. Gerard Pringle's in the 10.5 range, but he's hot. He's hot. He's coming off a 200-yard game. His confidence is there. The offensive line's confidence is there. The priority number one to me is stopping this guy, because if you make Pitt one-dimensional, which they've been at times this year, now it's a lot easier to get Heinschel down on the ground, to really cause problems for him, force him to run around, make mistakes like he did against Notre Dame, where he really struggled on third down. Again, down and distance was a problem for them, and where he really struggled with turnovers. So you have to stop the running game first and foremost.
Mr. Milan Baby says Pitt may get caught up with rat poisoning. I will say, it's been a very emotional, and it must have been an emotional up and down for them these last few weeks. You had Notre Dame, you had game day there. You know, the stuff that Narduzzi said in the press conference was funny, when he was basically saying that they didn't care about Notre Dame, which I'm sure wasn't actually the case behind the scenes, but you just wonder if all this stuff like that, and then obviously they come out and do what they did against Georgia Tech. But let's see. I mean, obviously they're the home team here, but it's I think the highs and lows could be an interesting battle for them.
Yeah, it's emotionally where are they at. They're not going to make the ACC championship game without a lot of help.
Freshman quarterback. So
it's Thanksgiving. So are the fans going to be there? Now, Pitt probably has a pretty local fan base. So I don't know. You're a local student body, I should say. So it's not like Miami. When we have those Thanksgiving games, no one's there because everybody's in Long Island or New Jersey or, wherever people are from. So that's a little different. We'll see. I mean, Pitt's never really a huge home field advantage, I don't think. I think probably you had a better one against Virginia Tech and Lane Stadium. The cold will be a factor, and the fact that I think really
and we're
the team.
And we're only, it's only a 6.5 point spread, so we don't get the vaunted double-digit favorite there, which is normally not a good sign for the team there.
Yeah, we'll see which direction it goes. I know in SMU, the spread went down. I think it was actually single digits by the time kickoff happened because we had lost a few players. Here, it sounds like we're getting players back, so that'll be interesting. Shaboy Kane saying Pitt will come with the Louisville game plan. I'm not sure if you mean offense or defense. I think at least on the offensive side, they're different teams. Louisville had that two really explosive players in Bell and Brown that are like on the higher end of the ACC. Pitt has some explosive guys too, but I would say those guys are more talented than Pitt's most talented guys on offense, but Pitt has explosive players. Heinschel is going to hold the ball more than Moss. I think that's the biggest difference between Pitt and Louisville. Miller Moss is trying to get rid of that thing immediately before he gets completely destroyed by Miami's pass rush, and they did that very well. Whereas with Heinschel, as the Hammer points out, he's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the country. He avoids a lot of sacks, but he gets sacked more than almost any quarterback in the country. Miller Moss got sacked a lot too, which is why they really sped up that operations, and they were successful in doing so. Heinschel's going to get sacked because he's holding the ball. He's running around trying to make plays. So you have to stop him when he does that. That's to me the key. Jay Campbell said it right here. Yeah, their quarterback holds the ball longer, a little more hero ball. You got to get him down to the ground. I was talking to some people. How do you deal with these guys, these run around type quarterbacks? Your defensive ends have to rush with speed to power, and not try to. They can't play hero ball. They have to be disciplined, because if you're Bain and you're Messidor, you should be able to knock back the tackles into the quarterback just because you're better than them. You have more power. They're powerful defensive ends to start with. You do that, now There's only so many directions he can go. And if you start blitzing a Jacoby Thomas, a Zechariah Poyser, a Pruitt, right? Some of these guys, now where is Heinzel going to go? Is he going to be able to escape? So I think if you can really,
you got to finish. You got to finish. You got to finish those reps though, because it's one thing to knock them back. We see that consistently, but I think you got to finish some of those plays, which I don't know that the finish has been there consistently.
No doubt about it. You have to get down. I mean, you've talked about with Ruben Bain. I'm sure he wants to get those sack numbers up, right? You're playing a quarterback that gets sacked a lot. I know Ruben Bain's not thinking about sacks necessarily, like the stats. He's thinking about, I mean, he is.
Come on, man. He's thinking about
you're right. He is. Yeah, you're right. He is. But he's got to be disciplined within the defense, keep him in the pocket. But when he's in your grasp, you got to bring him down to the ground. And I think, to me, maybe I'm wrong on this one, but I see this game as a game where Messidor and Bain are doing their job by compressing the pocket. They don't even need to get sacks. I'm sure they want to, but they don't even need to be the ones getting sacks as long as they keep them in the pocket. And then maybe, a defensive tackle,
Justin Scott,
right. Yeah. Or a blitzer with some speed, because we threw a lot of speed at Kyron Drones last week. And he did get sacked quite a few times, and he was under pressure, but he was able to avoid it because he was 20, 30 pounds heavier than the guy trying to sack him. Heinzel's not big like that. So he's elusive, but if he has Jacoby Thomas running him down, he'll get down, right? So I think that's why I could see some of these faster guys figuring more into the pass rush, as long as Bain and Messidor do their job of keeping Heinzel a little bit more contained, where he can't just do what he does. Because this guy, I said it, I compared it to Johnny Manziel, Diego Pavia. Not saying he's as good as those guys, at least not now, but those guys have that ability that when a free rusher's coming, they'll roll, to the left, even though they're right-handers. They just have that sense for just kind of that first quick step to feel pressure and get out of there. Heinzel's like that, and that's what we gotta avoid, is him making explosive plays. Off of that, these Pitt receivers can catch the ball and run. Got a couple South Florida guys in the mix, Raphael Williams, Katarius Hicks. They can cause damage. They're not as good as Chris Bell. Chris Bell's a first-round type NFL player. These receivers are not that, but they're good enough. They're better than Virginia Tech's receivers. They're better than NC State's receivers, probably, although probably more similar to NC State, I would say, than Chris Bell. We'll see, man. A lot to get to, but hey, I want to.
I gotta hop off here, D. I got something I gotta get to real quick. I know you probably have something you need to shout out to, but I want to just mention Lomelo's Meat Market. Guys, if you are not local in Miami, this is the spot. Fresh Wagyu beef delivered to your door. If you are local, you still got the storefront there, 9810 South Dixie Highway, right past Dadeland, and not far from campus. You see all the beautiful cuts of Wagyu meat. You got the prime steak as well. Lomelos.com, promo code CIS10 for 10% off your order. D, I gotta hop off now. I'll let you take it home.
Peace. All right. So real quick before we get to the rest of the comments and talk a little bit more Canes football, you want to enjoy the victory on Saturday, hopefully, without the hangover. Get some BUZZN, BUZZN, 7.5 milligrams of THC infused seltzer. You can get it online, drink, BUZZN.com, using code FIRST35 for 35% off, or you can go right to Big Daddy's Liquor and grab yourself a bunch of cans if you are in the South Florida area. That is drink, BUZZN.com, BUZZN, BUZZN, all hang, no hangover, all bubbles, no troubles, all the different flavors. You know that I'll be celebrating the victory with some BUZZN, BUZZN, drinkbuzzn.com. See, you got some more comments here. Let's see. What Joel says, think Miami jumps Utah and CFP tonight. Think we'll be 12. I think so. I'm a little worried about Vanderbilt coming from the back there as far as trying to jump over Miami. That's a concern, but Miami's definitely better than Utah. That was a joke. Miami should have never been in the same ballpark as Utah. The ACC is not very good, but it's brutal watching Big 12 football. There's no Big 12 football. There's 0.0% chance any team from that conference could win the championship. Miami can win. We have enough players to beat anybody. Not saying we will. I'm just saying we have the players. Clemson in the past has had the players. FSU has had the players. The Big 12 completely useless conference. They got no chance of winning anything. They should not have an automatic bid, but sure, people will say that about the ACC. So what can you say? I just hate watching these teams. You got to watch them to see if teams can pull the upset. And it's like brutal football. Martin Dubé says, what's your opinion on the recruiting class? I think it's solid. Yeah, I think the ranking's probably about what it is. Top 10. Like, I think we're 10th right now. It's closer to that side of the top 10. Good senior evals. That's the focus. They try to get guys that are rising, and fans always say their players are rising as seniors, but the proof's in the pudding. All these guys are going up in the rankings, so national guys tend to agree. That is the strategy to catch rising seniors. Guys who are having big senior years, high correlation between guys having good senior years and guys who end up being productive in college. So you look at, some more in Wingo as a senior riser. Gavin Mueller, the tight end, big-time senior riser. DeAnthony Lafayette, guys like that really just climbing up the board. So I think that's been a strength. Keyshawn Stansel, that's been a strength of this recruiting class. J.J. Edwards at linebacker. So a good, solid class. I think the offensive line class in particular has been really, really rebuilt. Jackson Cantwell, number one player in the country. That helps. Joel Irvin, I think, is going to be an absolute freak. And you're getting other good players in that room. So I think that is where you really do see a lot of improvement. Yeah, Nick West mentioned Milan Paris, a receiver, another big-time riser. So solid class. I think the ranking's what it is. We're 10th in the country. I think we're 10th. That's about right. You live in the top 10, you're going to have a chance as long as you evaluate well like you did last year. Can't have as many misses as you did in 23 and 24. Yeah, Ben Congdon, another guy I'm very, very high on. Wanted to get to this one because I thought it was funny. CanesInSight.com, 7.6 million posts and counting. A lot of those posts are in the Gator Tiers thread right here. And the Gator Tiers thread is basically a bunch of posts from Gator boards, Gator Twitter, whatever, just making fun of the Florida Gators and enjoying their suffering. It's our biggest thread. And look at that right there. If you want to see a picture that sums up the Gator Tiers thread, that would be it right there. As DJ Lagway celebrates a first down 28-0 in the swamp, which I was told was a fearsome environment. Didn't see it last year when I was there with the Canes, and certainly haven't seen it on TV because it has become a very friendly place for opposing teams. But yeah, the Gator Tiers thread is the absolute best, man. I'm trying to see how many posts we have in this thing now. It gets bigger every week because the Gators have more tiers. 11 million views, 88,000 posts in the Gator Tiers thread. So here we go. This is a good one. Let's see here. How's it going in Gainesville? Let's take a look how it's going in Gainesville as they lose the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes most likely. There we go. Always good when you get the bags over the heads and the empty seats. So yeah, shout out to everybody doing work in the Gator Tiers thread. Kyle says last year's number 13 class should have been more like 7th and 8th. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know what else the rest of the country is doing, but our guys have played very good football in that class. Bryce Fitzgerald, Malachi Tony, obviously the best freshman in the country. Dante Simpson, you go on and on. There's a lot of guys that have outperformed their ranking early on, right? It's early, so you can't say too much about it. But when you have Malachi Tony as the number one player in the country, probably from that class, again, we'll see how it all ends up. But if you were to re-rank them based on their freshman year, Malachi Tony, who was a 3-star on the rankings, would be the number one overall player in the country. I think that's a fair statement. I don't think anybody would disagree. That's certainly the national consensus. Pretty good. Pretty good way to start. We'll see how that thing flips out, though, and turns out. There's still a lot of time left in that, but a lot of good players. Yeah, Pringle, Moore. I like Dalen Upshaw. I got a lot of good players in that class that we feel good about. Mr. Milan says Gators may hire Chip Kelly or the dude from Tulane. Chip Kelly didn't do too hot at UCLA. Probably would be a better pick than some of the guys they're talking about. Georgie asking, will Bain show out this weekend? I just wanted to take advantage of the opportunities. Don't be greedy. Don't get out the structure of the defense trying to make plays. We saw that a little bit last year with Tyler Barron at times. Do your role. I don't know what the game plan is, but I assume some of that game plan involves being powerful, keeping that pocket condensed for Heinschel so he can't escape right, left. And Ruben Bain's the most powerful defensive end in the country. So if anybody has the power to really condense that pocket, it is Ruben Bain. It's going to come down to, again, sticking with the script, following the game plan, and doing what he's supposed to do. Coach Vance says, season over today. Who's our quarterback next year? I think it'll be someone from the portal. This is my guess. Who would it be? I don't know. I don't have info on that. They're keeping this extra tight lip this year. Maybe I'll get info at some point. But right now, I don't think anyone really knows. They're keeping that particularly tight lip. Plus, they still don't know. They didn't know Carson Beck would be the quarterback here on November 25th. So that's still an ongoing process. I would keep an eye on it, but it's still very much early. To me, the one that makes the most sense would be a CJ Bailey, just because multiple years of eligibility. He's only 1 year older than Luke Nickel. I mean, this is a young player, but he'll have 20 plus years of starts going into next year. 6'6", good arm, 70% passer almost, can run, has been productive in the ACC. Let's say top 3, top 5 production at the quarterback position in most categories, but has room to get better and be actually like a top echelon passer in the country. He's not that right now. So you're projecting a little bit, but I think he's probably the cleanest, makes the most sense. Obviously the local ties are there. You would expect him to want to leave NC State with the way they're failing to protect him. They're not very good with NIL either. So I think like when you just look at all the pieces, that one makes a lot of sense. JKS, we talked about him on a recent podcast in California. Jerron Kiwi Sagapatelli, his coach just got fired. He'd be someone that'd be interesting with a lot of Polynesia connections to Miami staff. We'll see on that one. That could be something that makes sense. Sellers has been linked to Miami. I'm sure that's agent talking. I like Sellers. I think he's got more than he's shown. Reminds me of like a better passing Jalen Milroe, who Jalen Milroe won a lot of games in college, put up a lot of stats. I think he was a Heisman finalist at one point or close to it. So he got drafted 3rd round. So if he's a better Jalen Milroe for us, I think that's a good winning player. So, we'll see, man. I don't know. I don't know. And I don't think they know. I don't think anybody knows. Mr. Lexiani asking, will we add another speedster to the class? I don't know. I mean, Milan Paris is a fast, big guy. He's a downfield runner. I think he's time 4.5 verified, which is, with high jumping metrics, that usually can get down to a 4.4 in college. Vance Spafford is 4.35 verified, so he's one of the fastest players verified in the country when it comes to the receiver position. Wingo's not a speedster, but he can get downfield. I think we add another speedster one way or the other. Maybe it'd be in the portal, but that'd be something to keep an eye on. But yeah, I mean, look, I think the biggest Kane said JKS is also Samoan, not Hawaiian. I know he's not native Hawaiian. He's Samoan, but he's from Hawaii, right? I don't know if he moved from the island, if he's born in Samoa and then moved to Hawaii. I thought he was from Hawaii, but I know he played high school football in Hawaii. I don't know what it's about lefty quarterbacks there. Dylan Gabriel, lefty quarterback from Hawaii. Tua, lefty quarterback from Hawaii. And now JKS. I'll tell you this about JKS, though, and I like JKS. I think he's good. I think he's really talented. For the people that are like, oh, Bailey sucks, you only like him because he's from South Florida. Bailey's freshman stats are actually better than JKS's freshman stats. Same conference. Because Bailey's a young player. He's only 1 year older than these guys. He's a true sophomore. So I want to just kind of put that context with Bailey, but I do like JKS. I do like Bailey. I also like Sellers. I think Levitt's got a lot of talent. He's been proven in the playoffs. The foot kind of worries me a little bit. I don't know what the diagnosis is or the prognosis is on that. But good options. I'm all about the portal. Everybody knows. There's no secret there. Portal's been good. I think the most important thing, though, is Miami's current portal quarterback, which is Carson Beck, doing his thing and really performing on Saturday. They're going to dare him to beat them. They're going to dare them to beat Pitt, and he's got to do it, man. It is just absolutely essential that Carson Beck finishes his regular season Miami career with a flourish, with a great, great performance. And I think that's going to really impact the narrative of his season and what he's done for the program as that portal guy. Shout out to the Miami Hurricane Team Store. As always, MiamiHTS.com. Use promo code INSIGHT20. You get 20% off all the items there. You got headwear. That's 20% off, period. You don't have to use the promo code for that. You can use your promo code for something else. And they get 20% off headwear. They got winter gear, youth gear, jerseys, signed stuff, you name it. They got it at the Miami Hurricane Team Store, MiamiHTS.com. You want to go in person, it's right across the street from the University of Miami, next to the Thesis Hotel. And Black Friday's coming up, and Cyber Monday. So from Black Friday to Cyber Monday, enjoy 30% off both online at MiamiHGS.com and in-store at the Thesis Hotel right across from campus. Jerseys, hoodies, hats, all your game day gear. Everything is 30% off. So swing by the team store at the Thesis Hotel or shop online at MiamiHGS.com. Grab your Hurricane merch while the deal lasts. So a lot of deals going on, and the best of all deals right there, Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday. Load up, man. 1,400 on live between YouTube and Twitter. Again, appreciate everybody joining us here. Vegas Kane says, I'm from Hawaii. And Tu actually said it correctly. Hawaiian is a race. It's not anyone from Hawaii compared to how people call themselves from California and Florida, Californians and Floridians. No, I know. I call them native Hawaiians. But yeah, like I know he's Samoan, which is good because we have all those Samoan ties to this program, whether it's Ala Fatuli, the Mauanoa brothers, Coach Misapeka in the recruiting department. So yeah, those Samoan ties are important. It is important to distinguish because you got Samoans, you got Tongans, you got Native Hawaiians, all different. We call them Paulies, but as similar as they may be, they all have their own cultures, their islands after all. Croqueta King. Okay, Croquenti says more swing passes to Pringle and wheel routes. Yeah, can we use Pringle in pass receiving? Pass protection, you probably don't want to rely on Pringle when you got fast, all ACC type linebackers in Kyle Lewis and Rasheem Biles, number 3 and number 9. Lewis, number 9, Biles, number 3. Those guys are going to be flying everywhere. They're a little bigger than Pringle. They can knock him back in pass protection. So maybe you want to use Pringle as a receiver more than a pass protector when you can. Whereas with Mark Fletcher, he can really, Mark Fletcher can knock those linebackers out if they come on a blitz. He's bigger than them. He's stronger than them, more aggressive. He can knock them out on a blitz. Whereas I think with Pringle, you want to use him as a receiver in the passing game more. You can't have tendencies. So there's limits to what you do there. You got to at least, Fletcher's going to go out for some routes as you saw last week. Pringle's going to need a pass protect, but I would lean more towards Fletcher as a pass blocker because of his size. Croqueta King says, Beck, the last 3 weeks, 66 out of 83, well over 80% passing, 858 yards, 8 touchdowns, no INTs. That's absolutely right. Now, I will caution North Carolina State, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, 3 of the worst defenses in the country, 3 of the worst pass defenses in the country. So, got to deal with a better defense here in Pitt. It's not an elite, SMU is actually a good defense that we played, and we didn't play well on offense. Pitt's not SMU, but Pitt's also not Virginia Tech. They're not NC State. They're not Syracuse. They're not Stanford. So can you perform like you did against some of the better defenses on your schedule, which that'd be Florida. Again, we weren't dynamic in the passing game there. Notre Dame, we were solid. FSU, which is ranked closer to Pitt. Let me see actually where FSU ranks relative to Pitt. I think FSU is ranked above Pitt defensively, but let me confirm that right now. Because that, to me, that's the model of what you want, particularly in the beginning of that Florida State game. So here we go. So Florida State, 34th in scoring defense, allowing 22.1 points per game. Pretty good number for Florida State. They don't have that much talent on defense. Whereas Pitt, 63rd, 25.2 points per game. So FSU is a better defense than Pitt by a good amount. Pass defense, again, Miami threw all over FSU. Florida State is, where are they in pass defense? 59th. Pitt, I believe, is right behind them. Oh, Pitt's had 50th. So they're about the same range, about 9 spots apart. Pitt's slightly better against the pass than Florida State. But Florida State just does a good job of keeping teams out of the end zone, unless it's Miami, in which case Miami was able to get in the end zone pretty effectively. The pass rush of Pitt is better than their defensive rating. What are they? Actually, that's not it. I thought it was better, actually, candidly. 6.08% sack percentage on defense. So that puts them 62nd in the country. Not great. Miami's 22nd in the nation. So 7.84%, meaning that when other teams drop back, Miami sacks them 7.84% of the time. Florida State's actually getting a lot more pressure than I realized because their pass rush against Miami did nothing. But they're actually 16th in the nation in sack percentage, 8.25%. Shout out to the defensive coordinator there. Doing a nice job with pretty weak talent, unless he's playing the Miami Hurricanes, of course, in which case Carson Beck had all day. So look, the positive is, look, if FSU has a better pass rush than Pitt, I'll take that pass protection that Beck had against Florida State on Saturday. I'll take that all day. Pitt, as Rock Defy noted, we talked about earlier, Pitt's really good on the run. We went over those numbers. They're top 10 in rushing yards against, rushing yards per carry against. That's where they put a lot of their resources. So you got to make them pay down the field. And if you could pass protect, which again, I didn't realize that FSU was that much better than Pitt in pass protection. If you can protect like you did against Florida State, like you did against Florida, like you did against Notre Dame, really have you done all year. There's been an elite pass protection team every game. If you can keep that elite pass protection up against Pitt, there's going to be opportunities because they're going to be aggressive. Over 1,400 on. Again, appreciate everybody joining us. Remember to like and subscribe to the show. We got maybe another show coming. We're working on the details, but we may have a special guest coming later today. So another live, most likely on the way. Again, appreciate everybody joining us. Like and subscribe. Go Canes.